Beers with Chad.
So what is it that for the last 18 years has made the Patriots so successful? I was listening to Colin Cowherd the other day. I really enjoy his show, and he has talked many times about how all these teams have a system or a nickname, you know, whether it's the Orange Crush, Purple People Eaters way back in the day, Saxonville, Legion of Boom, all that stuff, but how the Patriots have never quite had that branding. And he makes the argument because the Patriots are not a gimmick like that, or that they're not a system. And I would actually argue it's more of a branding issue for them, or that their system is adaptability. That the Patriots system is, to take a quote from the great Bill Walsh, legendary coach of the 49ers, that Bill Belichick obviously takes to heart. And the quote is, "Don't tell me what they can't do, tell me what they can do." Because as you go back through the 18 years of Patriots dominance of the AFC East particularly, and the AFC and the NFL, they've done it so many different ways. From those early Brady years when they beat the Rams and they beat the Panthers, in 2001, 2004, with great defenses, Willie McGinnis, Richard Seymour, Teddy Bruschi, Ty Law, Rodney Harrison. I guess Rodney was a little bit later, but those kind of teams with very much the game manager Tom Brady at the helm. To then, in the late 2000s, early 2010s, with Randy Moss, the emergence of Gronkowski, Aaron Hernandez, Wes Welker, and this exceptionally explosive offense, with one of their rare vertical threats in Moss, but then the way that they, sort of revolutionized two tight end play, how they gave the slot receiver such tremendous importance, with defenses that were good but not great. And then, the last couple of years, they've done it with in a lot of ways, no-name offensive talent, with the exception of Brady and Gronkowski, but they find these people who fit the system. And last week's game against the Chargers was such a perfect example of this, because they are so chameleon-like in their approach and in their system of adaptability, and tell me what he can do, not what he can't do. They find players who have, I think, one thing in common more than any other quality, and that is high football IQ, which gives them the ability to be adaptable, not only from era to era, and these different epochs of their dynasty, not just season to season, but week to week, and when need be, drive to drive, quarter to quarter, half to half of a game. And against the Chargers last week, they came out incredibly efficient on offense, running the ball straight at people, making the most of each of their players' talents. Sony Michel's ability to run downhill, James White's ability to catch the ball out of the backfield, Julian Edelman's ability to work the slot, the diminishing receiving abilities of Rob Gronkowski, but what can he do really well? Be the best blocking tight end in the NFL. So let's get him one-on-one with a linebacker or a safety that the Chargers were playing at linebacker, and they have the ability to essentially run a entirely new defense from week to week if they need to, or to run an entirely new offense from week to week if they need to. And that is what has made them so successful. Their system, their brand is adaptability. And I guess that's not as catchy, as Saxonville or the Legion of Boom, but it certainly has been more successful. So going into this weekend with the Kansas City Chiefs, and we're talking about Arctic blasts, and it's going to be maybe negative 10, negative 15 degrees, though now it looks like it'll be a bit warmer in Kansas City. How can New England take their adaptability and challenge the incredible Chiefs offense, and at least as of last week, very formidable Chiefs defense with that? So they go into Arrowhead as 3-point underdogs, And on paper, rightfully so, because if you look at the best players in the game, short of Tom Brady, Gilmore, maybe Gronkowski, the Patriots probably don't have more than 3 or 4 of the top 15 on paper talented players in the game, but because of their ability to, they're taking, square pegs and when there's round holes in the game, Bill Belichick is taking out his, jigsaw and forming his square pegs into round holes, or just cutting a round hole into the board for him to put in the piece that works for them. And I don't know that they're going to be able to do that against the Chiefs, but I didn't think they were going to be able to do it against the Chargers last week either, and they certainly proved me very, very wrong in that instance. Can they play that well 2 weeks in a row? I want to say no, but if anybody can, it's probably them. As I look at the game with the Chiefs and the Patriots, is that super cold weather, that's definitely advantage Patriots from an experience standpoint, from a gameplay standpoint, because the Chiefs are built so much on speed with the incredible Tyreek Hill, who, if you didn't know, if you haven't seen his track and field videos, was a legit, up-and-coming Olympic caliber sprinter, running 20.15 or 20.19, 20.15 in the 200 as a high schooler, unheard of, and in the summer between high school and college in a junior meet, breaking 10 seconds in the 100 meter. That's true world-class speed. Probably the fastest football player, certainly in the NFL right now, if not ever, challenging world-class track athletes like Bullet Bob Hayes for that kind of title. But does that super cold weather slow him down a little bit? Sure, but it slows everybody down. I don't think it's going to affect Tyreek Hill a greater percentage of his speed than it is the people trying to cover him. So I still think Kansas City has the personnel advantages. If their defense can play near the level that they did last week against the Colts, they're going to win the game. They have better players. They have Mahomes on the hottest of hot streaks, one of the greatest seasons a quarterback has ever had, especially a first-year full-time starting quarterback with over 5,000 passing yards, over 50 touchdowns, and likely to win the MVP. So I see a lower scoring game, probably because of the weather, but I do think that the Chiefs take it. As far as covering or not, it's going to be right there. I'd see maybe like a 27-24 type of game, 24-21 in that range. Not going to be the shootout that it was in Gillette a couple months ago, but Tom Brady he looked ageless last week. It's really tough to play that well 2 weeks in a row, but if anyone can do it, if anyone can adapt their plan and come this week to Kansas City with a creative way to stop all the stuff they do on offense, and a creative way to attack that defense, it's going to be the Patriots. Was a very interesting stat that out of the hundreds of games that Bill Belichick has coached, they've given up over 40 points, I believe 7 times, and 3 of those times are to Andy Reid in the last 4 or 5 seasons. So the Chiefs definitely know how to move the ball and put up points against the Patriots, against anyone with the offense that they have this year. So I think that the Chiefs get it done, that they are your AFC Super Bowl representative, and we'll say 27-24 Chiefs over the Patriots. Now in the game that I am most excited for, Los Angeles Rams at New Orleans Saints. Played earlier in the year. Saints won 45-35, but they were ahead of 35-17. If not more than that, maybe even 35-10, and we're really taking it to the Rams. I remember I was on a flight home from a friend's wedding in Philadelphia, and I was watching the game on the airplane, and a lot of emotional up and downs on that flight watching my Rams. But the Saints are 3.5-point favorites right now, and judging from recent, the most recent thing we have to judge it off of, last week's performances, the Rams looked like a much, much better team. They ran the ball incredibly well against a very, very good Dallas run defense, and they shut down the NFL's #1 rusher in Ezekiel Elliott. If the Rams can come with that sort of gap integrity and toughness in stopping the run to shut down Alvin Kamara and Mark Ingram and make Drew Brees beat them, yeah, Michael Thomas torched the Rams in their first matchup, and he had another great game last week against the Eagles as well. But the Rams are a much more talented team than the Eagles. The Eagles had plenty of opportunities to win that game, and I'm here voting with my heart and my head that the Rams are going to go in to New Orleans, win the game, be your NFC representative for the Super Bowl. Jared Goff isn't going to get 273 yards rushing from C.J. Anderson and Todd Gurley this week. Can they run the ball very effectively? Yes, and I think they will do that. Jared Goff needs to be, sharper, more accurate than he was last week, which was kind of a disappointing game to him. Is he going to be the way that he was against the Vikings early in the year with a perfect quarterback rating and dropping dimes all over the field? Probably not. But the creative run attack, play action attack that the Rams can bring, Jared Goff is going to distribute the ball to the playmakers. And let's go Rams 31, Saints 27. Now, if both of my predictions are wrong, and all the Super Bowl matchups are very interesting, I'd say from fourth to first, I'd be most interested to see probably Saints, Chiefs, then all of them are interesting. The Rams versus the Patriots have the sort of old guard, the old great coach Bill Belichick versus the young great coach and Sean McVay. The Rams and the Chiefs had such an entertaining game earlier in the year. Who wouldn't want to see that again with all that potential offensive firepower, and both of their defenses playing much better now? But the Saints-Patriots Super Bowl would be so interesting. So you have two of the greatest of all time in Drew Brees and Tom Brady, and I almost wonder if that does end up being the matchup, and both my picks end up being wrong. Is the winner of that Super Bowl, that Brees versus Brady Super Bowl, riding off into the sunset and retiring after that game in a way that really only John Elway has been able to do before? Yeah, Peyton Manning as well, but Peyton Manning was on a very drastic decline where both Brees and Brady are still playing at such a high level. So I'm excited for any of the potential matchups, but rooting for the Rams. Either of the AFC teams I'd enjoy seeing, but I think Chiefs get it done, Rams get it done. Also a big weekend in the UFC, with the UFC debuting on ESPN Plus, their first card on ESPN as they move over from Fox. And the headlining event is super fight between 125 champion Henry Cejudo and 135 champion TJ Dillishaw. Now, TJ Dillishaw trains at Gracie Barra headquarters in Irvine with my coach, Professor Philippe De La Monica, as his jiu-jitsu coach. So we get to see TJ train all the time, and everyone's been talking all week about his weight cut and how lean he looks and how thin he looks. And I get to see him 2-3 nights a week in their training, and he definitely does look lean. He's a very naturally thin guy and just shredded. But man, listening to TJ talk, to his coach, Sensei Dwayne Bang Ludwig talk, and everything that they do, that I think what really sets TJ apart, and what Dwayne and TJ do along with Sam Calvita, who is TJ's strength and conditioning coach, is that between Sam and Dwayne, they do a great job of program management. And I think this is something that a lot of MMA fighters and people in multidisciplinary sports like CrossFit tend to struggle with, is because there's so many parts to train and so many things to develop, it can be very problematic if there's not one person or two people overseeing the whole thing, making sure that we don't train Muay Thai and wrestling and jiu-jitsu hard all at the same time, along with the strength and conditioning, but that there's an ebb and flow, a balance to everything. And I think that Dwayne and TJ and Sam Calvita have figured that out for the last couple of years now, and are ahead of the curve there in MMA and do a phenomenal job in that. It's remarkable to watch his work, his pace, knowing that he's up early in the morning on the road, getting his road work in, getting his aerobic capacity up, and helping him with this weight cut down to 125. I think he's going to make the weight comfortably. I think they're doing a great job managing that, and I think at the end of the night, TJ Dillishaw has 2 gold belts hanging on his shoulders. That he's a far superior striker, so creative, so a very unique style, kind of hard to get a read on what he's doing, and just much more advanced in his striking than Henry Cejudo. And while Henry Cejudo is a gold medalist in freestyle wrestling, and TJ Dillashaw was a college wrestler, and if he's not a better wrestler for MMA than Cejudo is, he's certainly good enough to avoid Cejudo being able to dictate where the fight happens. And even if Cejudo is able to take TJ down, and TJ has a phenomenal takedown defense, like 96% takedown defense, but let's say Cejudo defies the odds and gets TJ on the ground, I know that TJ is ready to attack from his back, to play great guard, and to showcase his Gracie Barra Jiu-Jitsu as he trains with the phenomenal Felipe De La Monica. Some other interesting fights on that card: Cowboy Cerrone. Love watching Cowboy. Every interview I hear with Cowboy, I'm just more and more like, man, this guy is awesome. I'm gonna be out in Albuquerque in a couple months for a seminar, and really hoping I get to head out to the BMF ranch and meet him and maybe do a bit of training with that group. The Greg Hardy fight, a lot of controversy about should he be showcased like this, and particularly should he be on the card with Rachel Ostovich. But Greg Hardy is a phenomenal athlete. He was one of the best defensive ends in the NFL during his short career before it was derailed by his bad decision making. But he paid his time. The legal system, even though there was some definite issues with that case and maybe him paying the woman off, but that's a topic for a different day. I'm interested to watch Greg Hardy just because, from a pure athleticism standpoint, I don't know that there's anyone in the UFC heavyweight division who can match his speed and power, coordination. Coming from being an elite All-Pro defensive end in the NFL. Ostovich versus Paige Van Zandt. A lot of people are excited for that fight. They're probably more excited for the weigh-ins and the press than the actual fight. But I hope for Rachel Ostovich, going through what she's gone through recently with the domestic abuse situation, that she can have a great experience there and showcase her talents. And on the side of Paige Van Zandt, just seeing how shitty people are to Paige Van Zandt on Instagram and everything for what seems like a very sweet, hardworking girl. I hope that she gets to showcase all her hard work and shut up a lot of the trolls that are always chirping at her on social media. So very excited to watch that first card on ESPN Plus, see how ESPN showcases the UFC, as that's definitely a big step up. Even though Fox, I like Fox and FS1 and watch a lot of the shows and listen to a lot of the podcasts from them, but ESPN definitely does have an extra level of cachet to it in offering the UFC more and more legitimacy, putting it closer to the same plane as NFL, NBA, MLB type of stuff. So going to be a great weekend in sports. Excited to watch the games, excited to watch the UFC. Just a lot of fun stuff. So thanks for watching. Thanks for listening to Beers with Chad. Subscribe on YouTube. Subscribe on iTunes. Leave a 5-star review. Share it with your friends. Tell me in the comments of the video what you want to hear about. And I'm excited to create more content for you. Thanks for listening.